how are you? Welcome to Bookalina. Merry Christmas if you are celebrating this weekend. And today's video is part 2 of the best books that I read in 2021. I will, of course, be linking part 1 for you down below. First book is The Humans by Matt Haig. I did also read The Midnight Library by him this year, which I really enjoyed, but I liked The Humans better, so it is on this list. It's about an alien that gets sent down to Earth to kill a mathematician in England who has discovered an equation that I suppose the aliens don't think that humanity is ready for, and he enters the body of a human. I found it really funny. It's really engaging. I loved it from start to finish. I could not put this book down, and it's also really heartfelt, but not in a corny way. I'm not a fan of corny, sappy books, but I feel like this book did a really good job kind of keeping it on that line and it didn't go over that line. I don't think it did. I think that some people probably might think that, especially towards the end. But I genuinely really just found it very genuine and very heartfelt. Next up is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. So I read this book pretty quickly, and I plan to reread it probably once a year, maybe even more. It really resonated with me. It really spoke to me. I'm going through something incredibly strange and difficult right now, health-wise, and this book was just what I needed. Obviously, as the title kind of already alludes to, it's about overcoming adversity. It's about looking at adversity and challenges in your life differently. The subtitle of the book is The Timeless Art of Turning Trials into Triumph. So the book references an ancient philosophy called Stoicism. So I definitely recommend this book to literally everybody, whether you are going through something difficult or not. But I mean, who among us isn't going through like some shit, right? Didn't find it overly sappy or cliche. There's none of that like rainbows and unicorns, you are loved bullshit. It's very straightforward. It's very relatable. Great read through and through. Next on my list is I Found You by Lisa Jewell. I read quite a few Lisa Jewell books this year. I think this was my favorite though. It's about a woman in England who finds a man sitting alone on a beach near her house, and she kind of takes him in, and little by little his story unfolds. It turns out he has amnesia, which is, I know that's like a trope that's been done to death. I know, kind of cliche. But I do think that in this story, it does actually work. It was, I think I finished this book quicker than I have any of her other books, even though I get through her books like pretty quickly. I cannot snap to save my life. I'm sorry. But yeah, so the characters were all really well fleshed out. They all felt very real, very relatable. I really liked the story. I liked how it unfolded. And it wasn't overly tragic. Like, some of her books are really kind of depressing, but this one, I don't know, this one just, it ended, it wasn't as depressing as her other books. I'll just say that. I have 2 books by Taylor Jenkins Reid. First up is Malibu Rising. I read this book first. This was the first book that I read by this author, and I really enjoyed it. It was a really good story. It's about a group of young adults who are all born to the same father. This father is a very famous singer from the 50s. The story follows these kids from when they are very young, being raised by their mother alone into their late teens and into their adulthood. I loved the characters. I loved the story. I loved the backdrop of California. It was just a really fun, enjoyable read. After that, I read The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This is the book that everyone is talking about. I knew nothing about it. I was going in blind. For some reason, I thought that it was about that it took place in I don't know, 18th century or 19th century Britain or something. Like, I had no idea what it was even about. So I'm not even gonna really get into too much about it. It is about a movie actress, I will say that. This book was just, it was just wow. Like, it kind of knocked my socks off. I wasn't really expecting it to go where it went, and it's a really great story. I finished it very quickly. I think if you read it, you'll probably get through it pretty quickly as well. It's really addicting. I loved it, and I loved that I didn't know anything about it before I started reading it. I highly, highly recommend this book. If you are maybe on the fence because you've heard a lot about it and you're like, I don't know, is it really worth the hype? In my opinion, it is totally worth the hype. I'm kind of cheating a little bit with this next book because I haven't quite finished it yet. This is Chatter by Ethan Kross. Subtitle is The Voices in Our Head, Why It Matters, and How to Harness It. Written by a psychologist, and he reveals the hidden power of our inner voice and shows how to harness it to combat anxiety, improve physical and mental health, and deepen our relationships with others. I have lots of chatter in my head. I am a very inward, introverted, reflective person, and so that voice gets really, really loud sometimes, to the point where it almost overtakes like reality. And so this book has been, I have to say, a godsend. Like I said, I'm not quite finished with it yet, but I put it on this list because it has already changed how I listen to my inner dialogue. I have read very few books throughout my life that I would deem useful. You know, most of the time they're entertaining, they're a good escape, they're funny, they're scary, they're sexy. But this book is actually changing the way I'm thinking about things. And my favorite book of 2021, Project Hail Mary, Andy Weir. So you're probably in two boats. You've either read it and hopefully you agree with me about how great it is, or you haven't read it and you're like, I'm so sick of hearing about this book. But I mean, it really is that great. I'm sorry, it really is. It was so thoroughly enjoyable, and it was one of those books that I didn't want to end. I loved how it ended, and I was so happy and so satisfied with how it ended, but it seriously could have kept going for like another 500 pages, and I would have happily read it, the rest of it. I have nothing bad to say about this book. I was hooked from the beginning. I think the pacing was great. I think the characters were great. It had humor. It has a lot of science in it, but it's written in a way that even if you are a dummy when it comes to things like astronomy and biology and engineering and science, you will still understand what's going on, I promise. So that's my wrap up. That's it. Those are my favorite books of the year. Please like this video and comment below and tell me what your favorite book of 2021 is, because I want to know. Don't forget to subscribe, and I will see you next week. Have a great one.